Hi, I'm Jacob, I'm from Go Industrial, and today we've got a long weekend in sunny Queensland, which means I'm spending some time at the mother-in-law's house. We're going to tackle one of our DIY projects. We're going to be sanding and staining this deck. We're going to be preparing these timber posts as well as these slats to paint them out nice, crisp white to match the rest of the house. So I'm going to be running you through my entire process from start to finish, how I do all the preparation, sanding, filling, masking up. We're going to be spraying this all today with our Airless paint sprayers. I'm going to show you my process of how we spray stain, as well as how we spray our undercoat and acrylic top coat in a nice crisp white. We've also got the side gate to paint, so I'm going to run you through that. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow along, check the description below. We'll have some timestamps if you want to see a particular part of the project. Otherwise, let's get straight into it. So when it comes to any painting project, the process is much the same. Painting or staining is only really the last 10% of the process, and that 90% is in the prep. How we get the surface back to bare, ensure that whatever we're going to put over it actually sticks and we're using the right thing for the right application. It's always important to note, if you've got weathered timber like this, it's been hit by this harsh Australian sun over so many seasons, it's important that we get it sanded back. We get it back to a surface that we know we're going to achieve adhesion when we put any type of primer or stain over the top of it, and that's exactly where we're going to start. So I'm lucky the mother-in-law's come through 24 hours beforehand, pressure washed the whole house. It's nice and dry. It's about 30 degrees here in Queensland today, so I know that we're sweet to start our prep process. And we're going to start by getting the dustless sander out. We're going to hit all of these posts, we're going to hit all the slats, and we're going to hit the deck as well. I'm going to show you how I run through this dustless sanding process, why sanding matters, and what grits you need to use to get this back to a usable surface. So what tools do you need for the sanding part of this job? There's two ways you can go. You can either use a battery-driven orbital sander like this, which often does enough of the job. You need to be mindful though, because it does throw a lot of dust all over the place. And if you're not wearing the right PPE, you definitely don't want anything like timber dust getting into your lungs, especially if you're sanding surfaces that you just don't know are asbestos or not. The other option is to stick with a dust-free or a dustless system. And the way that these work is that you have an extractor, you have a vacuum hose, and whatever you sand will actually get extracted through your sandpaper or your abrasive. It'll travel through this vacuum hose and be stored into a fleece bag which sits in your extractor. This is the safest way to sand any type of surface for a home project or a renovation. It'll pick up 99.98% of the dust that you're actually sanding. And whilst it can be a bit more expensive than your battery orbital option, it's a hell of a lot safer if you can justify using it for more than one part of your project. So here today we're using a Mirka. This system's made in Finland. It's a top of the range premium offer. However, the amount of times I've used it for projects like this, it's paid itself back tenfold. We're also using Mirka's newest abrasives today, which are the Mirka Ligno. These are designed specifically for sanding any type of timber. They disperse heat really well, and they also have this really cool hourglass pattern which directs the dust through these holes to get better extraction when you're sanding for longer. So we're going to try these out today. If you're using any type of sandpaper for really weathered timbers, I'd recommend starting with 60 or 80 grit, and then we're going to step it through from 80 grit through to 100 grit through to 120, and we might finish with 180. But we're going to get stuck into this. I'm going to use a dustless system. Lockie over here is going to give me a hand. He's going to be using the Rupus battery option as well, and we'll show you which option's faster and what puts out way less dust. So today we're using our direct electric random orbital sander from Mirka, which is called the Mirka DEROS. It's literally what it stands for as an acronym, which is pretty cool. It's the 8mm variant, which means that it's our most aggressive orbit in the range. For anything like decks over summer, we want something that can rip in and strip it back as fast as possible. However, we can still dial it back with these plus and minus speeds to buzz at a lower RPM and give us a really nice fine finish. We're going to start with our Ligno abrasives at 60 grit. I'm going to show you how fast we can rip this back. Lockie over here is going to hook in with the Rupus with the same abrasive, and we're going to see how we go. So what we're looking to do is get this weathered deck back to a bare timber. That way we can assess if there's any major gouges or scratches in the timber. When we start with the most coarse abrasive, we can always bring it back up to a finer grit. We can assess, see where we're at, ask the dear mother-in-law what type of stain she wants to go with, pick a colour, and then we're going to come right back and get this all coated. Today, I want to get everything sanded, back to bare as well as masked up for painting first thing tomorrow. It's a great tip. If you are spraying, overspray is something we have to be mindful of. And if we often leave it too late in the afternoon here in Australia, the wind picks up and we don't want that overspray carrying down the street. So I always like to spray first thing in the morning. I like to do my prep a day before, and the day before that, I like to get all my pressure cleaning done and make sure the surfaces are nice and clean. So let's get into it. We're going to sand this deck. If you need to change discs on a DEROS, you'll always want to switch it off because you've got your paddle here at the top. If you try and put it upside down, put it down, your abrasive is going to spin. You got the risk of sanding your palm, which I've done before. You just want to simply rip off the Velcro disc. You want to line up that new Velcro disc. This is a question I get a lot. What if all of my holes on my abrasive don't line up? Not every single hole is meant to line up. These are actually a multi-hole configuration. So as long as most of the holes line up, you're going to get decent extraction. Don't be concerned if there's a few that are blocked. These abrasives are designed to be used on Festool's, DeWalt, Bosch, Makita, Milwaukee, any of your major brands in that 6-inch or the 150mm size. So Mirka likes to play fair with its competition, but I must say you get the best results if it's paired with the tool. So let's get straight back into it. Turn it on, max, back 2 clicks. Let's keep sanding. So the DEROS can have 2 backing pad sizes. We've been running the 6-inch or the 150mm backing pad, but we've gone to go industrial. We've gotten a 125mm backing pad, which is smaller, which is going to fit between the sections of the deck. We've got a pad wrench that comes with the kit. And all you need to do to change your backing pad is you slot this in between. You find where it slots in just here, you'll hear a click. You want to make sure it's off so you don't actually put the panel on, and you just hold it and off she spins. That threads off just like that. You can see here in the sander, you've got your thread where the backing pad goes back in, and you've got these little spaces on the end. So as soon as that's off, we get our new backing pad. There's our smaller backing pad here. We're going to get this bottom section, put the wrench in place for a sec, just hold that on there, line this up for the middle. You're going to put your wrench on that section, hold it tight. You're going to just slot the backing pad on, and you're just going to spin it until it gets tight. You don't want to go too tight here where you can never get it off again. Take that off. Now we have our Abranet Ace heavy duty, which is a net abrasive, which we're going to use, and we're good to go. So end of day, deck is sanded. We hit it with 40 grit. We started with the 60, had a change of mind that the 125mm backing pad was going to suit the width of the deck better. So sometimes you preach one thing, you got to compromise, and there's a better way to do things. So therefore, we chose the better way to do it. Tomorrow, we're going to hit this quickly in the morning. The sun is setting over here in Queensland. All right, we're back for day 2. It's nearly 8 o'clock here. It's a Sunday. So quiet right now. Everyone's still asleep. So I don't want to get the sander out straight away. So what we might do is I'm going to get out my masking gear. I'm going to start putting down some masking tape and paper. We're going to do what we can without making too much noise. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how the deck's gone. I must say, the painter who owned this house previously did a fantastic job because it was very hard to get off. And that sander is extremely aggressive. So going down to the 40, I didn't have the league nose on me, so I had to switch to Mirka's flagship Abranet Ace Heavy Duty, which is that net abrasive, but it's super coarse. Took that layer straight off. So this morning, once some people start waking up, we're going to switch back to that Ligno timber abrasive. I'm going to go back up to 80 grit, 100 grit, and finish with 120 grit. I won't go through to 180 because you still want to make sure that the timber has enough grain in it to actually absorb the stain, especially since we're spraying. So I'm hoping that this is going to go really well. So I've had my morning coffee. Let's get into some morning masking up, and I'll show you a cool tool that's going to make all of this a lot quicker. So here I have 3 tools that I wouldn't tackle any project without. I've got my iQuip hand masker, which is a really, really cool tool that lets me put either 24mm, 36mm, or the bigger 48mm tape on this little cartridge here. You can see that rolls. Then I also can put craft paper, or I can put drop plastic on the other end. I'll usually actually run 2 hand maskers. I'll have one for paper, one for plastic. So if I'm having to mask up windows on the outside, I can easily just drop the plastic down. And then if I'm doing any type of perimeters or not wanting to hit gutters, I can easily get the paper. The other thing to mention is the iQuip Envo tape, which is a painter's masking tape and is fantastic for a huge range of applications. Third and final is the iQuip 2-edge knife. And this is a really cool thing. I've got my actual blade to cut things around, and I'll show you a few little tips and tricks that I've learnt from Painting by Josh. He's an awesome mentor, and we've also got the scraper blade. So it's very much a 2-in-1 blade, but to have these 3 tools in your toolkit, I would seriously recommend. So one of these really handy tips I've learnt from Josh is when you're taping bits like this, and you don't want to hit it, tear off 2 longer strips. I probably have put a bit too much excess on the sides here, but then you can use your blade. You want to make sure it's nice and sharp as well. You want to press the tape into these corners, but then you just simply want to cut around. You should just be able to peel around the outside there. So you can see that's pretty good. It's not the best, but it's going to do the trick. So we've done a half decent job of masking all this up with our tape and paper. I recommend if you're tackling any project, set yourself little goals throughout the project. So for example, I wanted to have all this masking done before breakfast, which is now about 8:30. So now's a good time to get fed, and then we're going to come back. We're going to get this deck sanded up nice and smooth. Then I'm going to finish masking the perimeter, and we're going to get this done very quickly. Let's do it. So we're out here doing side quests. The mother-in-law has requested the deck's done, side gate's done. Jacob, do you have a second to paint this white? Because it's black lettering, black letterbox, kind of accents, so it'll look really nice and crisp white. Guess what? I have a drum of exterior paint. I should spray a primer, I know. A lot of people say exterior paints are self-priming, so I'm going to put that to the test today. And very worst case, if I have adhesion issues, I can pressure wash the whole thing off, give it some type of cleaning solution, and put a proper primer down. But while we're here, last job of the day, I'm going to load up the grey coat quick shot, and I've got it in the van. I don't want to do a colour change with the true coat because I'm going to give that a clean. So let's put some little bit of paint through here for a touch up, see how we go. If I look back on this footage and it looks the exact same as it did before, we sanded it all back. The title of this video is going to be, I wasted my whole public holiday making something the same as it was before. So that's a wrap. It's the same time as we started yesterday, which is pretty cool. So we've cleaned, sanded, masked up, sprayed stain on all of our pillars, our slats and our deck. It was an original change from the start. We were going to white these posts and these slats out, but we decided to keep with the natural timber. Once you get your timber back to a nice state, it looks pretty good when you get a nice fresh coat of stain on top. We also picked up a side quest. We've painted the letterbox and we've also sprayed out all those cool features in a matte black, which I think looks pretty good. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. It's Jacob from Go Industrial. Stay tuned, we've got plenty more project guides coming up. So without further ado, let's look at the final before and after, and I'll catch you in the next one.